out.
Yeah. All right, and here today with me I have Van Atkins, an arboriculturalist with Van's Tree Service, and I was wondering if you just first tell me about yourself and how you actually got into arboriculture.
Well, I was active in the Air Force. I retired Air Force, but long time I was in the Air Force, I was flying all the time. And when you're flying, you can't carry on a regular part-time job because you never know when you're going to be home. And so when I was in South Dakota, I went to school up there on horticulture and to learn about trees and stuff at the university. And to where I could have a job that I could do on my own, at my own time when I wasn't flying. Because I had 6 youngins. And with 6 children, Uncle Sam just doesn't pay you enough to raise them like you want to.
Yeah.
And so wherever I was at, I always worked part-time at doing tree work. And when I got stationed in Charleston, that was my last tour of duty. I was here 8 years in a row until I retired. And so being here so long and working whenever I wasn't flying, going to Vietnam and whatnot, I was working doing trees. And so I more or less got my business established for a couple, 3 years before I ever got out of the Air Force. And so when I got out of the Air Force, I just transitioned full-time into Van's Tree Service.
So it started off more as a necessity to feed your family?
Right.
Okay. And I was wondering, could you tell me about some of the daily problems and challenges you face?
Customers. Daily challenges is people not realizing that trees need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
That you can't just plant a tree and forget it. Wind damage, ice storms, hurricanes, all have adverse effects on trees. And so with this, you have to be proactive and take care of the tree rather than retroactive taking care of it afterwards. So I like to, like right now, I advertise that I like to thin out your trees to where wind passage will go through them and you don't have such a big sail for the wind to catch in case we do have a hurricane.
Yeah.
And your wind's able to go through the tree instead of against it so much. I mean, you know, you take a sailboat and you put up the the mast, and just the mast standing there, you don't have no trouble. But you put that sail up and it's going to move that boat.
Yeah.
Well, same with a tree. You get a full tree out there with full of foliage, it's going to have more wind resistance than it does if it's thinned out a little bit and some of the wind can go through it. I don't mean stripping them trees, but just thin it out a little bit like I was showing out here on this tree out here. And so it makes a lot of difference as far as taking care of trees. And then fertilization, people just for some reason don't think trees need to be fertilized. But when you urbanize a tree, we're taking it out of its natural environment and putting it into a city situation, and it has to be taken care of.
So what type of fertilization program would you recommend for a tree in an urban environment?
Well, at least once a year. If it's in the grassed area without mulch, I would recommend that we do some deep root fertilizing with a slow release fertilizer. And if it's in a mulched area, then just a broadcast fertilizer. And if a tree shows signs of stress.
And what would be those signs of stress?
Right.
And what would be the signs of stress?
Well, like you see yellows on the leaf fringes, you see black edges on the leaf edges. Different things are different causes. And so if it's just chlorotic, it probably needs a good fertilizer with some iron in it. And so we can use that with Stem-X with iron, which is one of the Moget injections. It's called Stem-X with iron, and we can inject that in if we haven't got room to do the fertilization. A lot of times, you know, you got hardscapes and everything around the plants, or else just it's in a buffer area right in the parking lot and stuff, and there's not room to do the proper fertilization. So then that's where the injection comes in. And so we can use the Stem-X with iron, and that'll take care of that chlorotic problem that we have in the tree. And then, like I say, if the tree has some decline in it, then we use the Emicide, which will it's got a fungicide in it where it helps combat the fungi problem also.
And do you mainly face problems with just pests, or was it more of a fungus problem?
Mostly, it's quite a bit of both. We have a lot of pest problems. We don't have the pest problem predominantly here that we have in the Northeast.
Yeah.
But emerald borer and several others. But we have quite a few different pests, but nothing really bad. Like live oak tree. That's why I like live oak tree. It's pretty disease resistant, other than proper nutrients, and taking care of it and getting rid of making sure we have trees that don't have deep crotches and stuff like that in live oak. But I love the live oak. I love working on live oak, and I more or less specialize in that and taking care of live oak trees. But we have, again, they need to be fertilized if they don't have a good mulch bed. But then even with the mulch, you need to put in a good fertilizer at least once a year.
Yeah.
To make sure that the health is maintained with the tree.
Okay, and I was wondering, could you tell me some of the how the effects of climate change has affected your work as an arboriculturalist?
Climate change. Well, here we don't have that big a problem like they do in the Northeast, where they have ice and snow and everything. We don't have drastic climate change, but my biggest problem is like when it's real hot like now, it's rough on the crew.
Yeah.
Have to keep them hydrated and everything, and can't just push them because they're going to have a break every once in a while because it's just so hot.
Yeah.
Wintertime, we don't have bad winters down here, so it's really not that bad in the wintertime.
Yeah.
This past year was one of the worst years we've had in 35 years as far as cold weather. It's been the coldest we've had in about 35 years, but still that wasn't nothing we couldn't work in. So we don't have the ice storms and stuff that we have up in the Northeast, and we don't have the deep freezes and the amount of snow. Now occasionally we'll have an ice storm, like here last March and February we had a big ice storm that hit Somerville area and on up that area, and it just did massive destruction to trees.
Right.
And so I worked up there in Somerville about a month just doing nothing but taking care of trees that had been busted up by the ice storm. But other than that, weather down here is generally great for our business.
Okay, and I was wondering if you could give me some advice you would give to someone who would like to pursue a career as an arboriculturalist.
Well, one of the first things I'd tell them would be to join ISA, International Society of Arboriculture. And with that, they've got, and also TCIA, the Tree Care Industry International, they've got all kinds of publications and all kinds of how-to books. And they have a monthly magazine that comes out, and it's always got articles in there, and new procedures, new updates, and then we have manuals, arboricultural manuals. Dr. Alex Shigo, he's got a couple that he put out years ago, but he worked for about 25 years on a plot where he planted trees. And then he would take and cut this one here inappropriately, and then cut this one properly, and then compare the difference. He would cut the tree down and dissect it and open it up, and then he'd take these pictures and show the difference of why this is decayed so much up here, and this one here just decayed a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's how this coming up. Cutting outside the branch bark ridge come in effect. This through Dr. Shigo. You're cutting branch and not tree, and he was showing that difference. And so the wound when you cut the tree is like this, whereas you cut the branch is like this. So it's just a world of difference, and the callousing over and the rot is eliminated.
All right. And I was wondering if you would just like to give the viewers some basic contact info. That way, if they would like to, they could call you.
Yeah. They can call me at any time. My cell number is the easiest way to get hold of me. That's 568-2222. Or they can email me at vatkins@knowledgey.net.
All right, and I'd like to thank you again for this wonderful interview. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem.
All right, thank you.